Hey everyone, Simon here. So this is a follow-up video to the July, I think 26th or 27th baseball prediction. And both of them were wrong. Wow. Why did that happen? How did that happen? My friend just asked me, are you going to take down the video? Of course, I'm not going to take it down. Part of the reason, and I talk about this in my book, Gambler's Dharma, that I wrote on the topic, is that first of all, we have to learn from our mistakes. Second, we have to be fully transparent so that when we do have a success, are you only showing your successes, right? Or if you're trying to criticize somebody, are you only showing their failures? You want to have a balanced, even viewpoint. So let's go over why these predictions didn't work, at least why I think they didn't work. I might be wrong about this as well. One of the reasons, in my opinion, is that we are currently very close to what I call a major sandhi. And I've talked about this before. Sandhis, S-A-N-D-H-I, spelled, means a juncture. And a sunrise is a juncture. It's a juncture between day and night. Sunset, same thing. The day that the sun goes into a different sign is also a juncture. But one of the most important for predictive purposes, in my opinion, is when planets go stationary. Now, how do you know when a planet is stationary? It is, you can see here, Mercury and Jupiter are both very close to being stationary. The way you know is when this factor here, this thing is zero. That is the motion of the planets. So let me just give you an example. I'm going to fast forward this chart a day. Now you see that Mercury went from -2 minutes to +4 minutes. Now pay attention to Jupiter as I go forward. I'm just going to take it forward a day, day. Boom. See that? Zero motion. This is Jupiter, officially August 10th, goes stationary. So that's well away. At the same time, the planet Uranus is also stationary. And Uranus actually goes stationary. Wow, you see that? I'm going back. See, I'm referencing this figure here, August 1st, so tomorrow. So what I've noticed when planets are about to go stationary, things get wacky. It's not even on the days that they are actually stationary. It's when they, it's like you're driving a car and you see a pit and you hit the brakes, you're like, ah! You freak out before you hit the pit. When you hit the pit, you stop screaming and you try to get out, right? The freak out happens before you fall in. So it's kind of like that, to where a week, sometimes even more, before a big planet like Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn goes stationary, you see this play out in that the typical results you expect become reversed. And in my opinion, so the predictions I gave, I would make the same predictions today, because the techniques were solid. Those teams look good. I said there would be a blowout. Arizona would beat Miami. It worked exactly in reverse. It was a huge scoring game, blowout, but it went in reverse. In fact, the only technique that did work, I'll talk about here in a second, and I'll teach you how to use it if you don't know. It's called reverse line movement. And it is something that professional sports investors, sports bettors use and keep an eye on. And it's a way to keep track of what the pros are doing. And the pros often know things that we don't know. Like, let's say a pitcher is getting a divorce and he has to be in court the previous night, and then he's got to play. You know, his pitching might not be as good, right? Because his mind is somewhere else. So the pros know all this stuff. And so that's also good to look at. We'll get to that in a second. So the point here is, first of all, not to give excuses. There's no excuses. And when you're wrong, you want to use that time to learn. So in Gambler's Dharma, I talk about this a lot, that what are also the lessons we can learn from these techniques and how to apply them in everyday life. So here is one lesson. During a sandhi that we have now, in fact, we have not one planet, Mercury, today, not two planets, Jupiter and Mercury, But 3, Uranus also is going stationary. When you have, I mean, one planet is enough. It's enough for Mars to go stationary or for Saturn to go stationary alone. But Uranus, and by the way, I use Uranus, Neptune. I don't use Pluto station because it's stationary so often. 6 months out of the year, you're going to be stationary. So you can't use Pluto. Okay. But even Neptune, so. But I do use Uranus. I do use Neptune sometimes. Not Rahu Ketu because they're mathematical points. Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury. Okay. Moon is never stationary, and Sun is never stationary. Okay. So what do we do when a planet is stationary? You don't start anything new. If you want to start a business or do things, because things will tend to work out in reverse of how you expect them to. What you do is you meditate. You do things that require internal. You review. I'm doing this video as a review of a previous video. You go deep. You go inside. You fix things that need to be fixed. You spend time fasting. Fasting is a wonderful practice during this time. You work on your sleep. You work on, things that require you to go inward. Okay. So, and when you see the sandhi, a juncture that way, it becomes an opportunity. Okay, I'm not going to be placing any money. If you do, I certainly don't encourage it. I stopped betting a while ago. Also because of the Saturn Ketu conjunction, which I'll talk about in a minute. But if you are placing wagers, then be extra careful at this time, or you're spending money on stuff, on new projects. Let the sandhi pass, and then, then start your business or whatever it is. The other thing is that this last few months in general have been pretty weird and pretty tough. I've talked to some professional horse handicappers. Now, those of you who don't know this, that doesn't mean they hit horses and handicap them. A handicapper is someone who reads a book and tries to predict which horse is going to win based on past performance. In fact, the book is called a PP, a past performances. So I've talked to some professional handicappers who basically are working with that every day, or at least 5-6 days a week. And they've told me that stuff has been really weird the last 2-3 months. Like, they'll make perfect picks and somehow they don't place the bet correctly. Or they'll make a perfect pick and the horse is winning and then something happens and it loses. But just some very quirky stuff. I attribute this to Saturn Ketu, and this is something that's going to continue to go on. And this is why, I stopped a few months ago, just said, that's it, cold turkey. This conjunction of Saturn and Ketu that is in Sagittarius it's going to continue to be there for very tight for a couple of months. I'm going forward here, and you can see not until end of October do they really separate. Okay, so still August, September, maybe 2.5. Right now it's July 31st. So another 2, maybe 3 months. These are going to be tight in the sky, okay? So that's yet another thing to look at. And that's one thing that makes long-term prediction difficult. So I was on a radio show about a couple years ago, right after my book came out, and they asked me for a weekly football prediction. And the first week was great. I think I got them all right, or it was like 5-1 or 6-1, something like that. And they're like, "Whoa, you're amazing." Second week, pretty good. I was like 4-2, I think. Continued, doing well. And then I think it was the third or the fourth week, just one of these sandhis happened. I forget what it was. I just bombed. It was horrible. I think I went 2-4, where I had only 2 correct picks and 4 incorrect picks, which is really bad. And I felt so bad at the time because here I am, I'm a guy writing a book on this stuff and I can't even get it right, right? But the lesson that astrology teaches us is to flow with the cycles of nature. So the following week, I did okay. I think we broke even. And then the week after that, it started doing well again. And so I think over the course of the 8 or 9 weeks that we did the show, I went, I think, 66, 68%, which is in sports betting circles pretty good. So we recovered. But that's my point, is that you have to account for the cycles of nature. And I couldn't say, hey guys, I can't predict this week. No, they expect every week for you to have some kind of, forecast. So anyway, now let me show you then what to do when the astrology is reversed. And by the way, if I had been smart, I would say, well, no, okay, this is a reverse time, so the team I think is going to win, I should predict that they'll lose. But now you're getting convoluted. So let me show you a technique that the professionals use called reverse line movement. And in fact, this is the only technique that won a couple of days ago. And I'll try to show you here in this, in the actual video overlay. And this has to do with Kansas City. I know you probably can't see it, but this says 73%. That means 73% of people were betting on Kansas City. So 7 out of 10 people are going, no, Kansas City is definitely going to win. But the line, which started at minus 130, and I'll show you this in a current game also. Actually, so it opened. It says the opening line was minus 130, but the current line is minus 128. That's called reverse line movement. When the line actually goes down, see, the line is what the bookies, it measures their level of confidence that one team is going to win. It's actually them trying to balance their books so they'll make money in both ways. But it's reflected as a measure of confidence. So the more minus that a team has, the more likely, the more they believe they'll win. So even though 7 out of 10 people are betting on Kansas City, the bookmaker's confidence is actually going down that they're going to win. That's called reverse. It should be going up. This should have gone up to minus 160 or minus 180, right? If they were following the crowd. So what makes them doubt? Dark money, sharp money came in. Sharp money is, let's say those 7 people each bet $10 on Kansas City. So that's $70 on Kansas City. And the 3 people who bet on Toronto each bet $100. So now there's $300 on Toronto and only 70 on Kansas City. So of course the line is going to reflect, I have less confidence in Kansas City. Why? Because more money is on Toronto. That's reverse line movement. Now, we don't have money stats here, but we have the percentages, and that's enough to tell us. There are other sites to show you that. So let me show you with a current game here, because you need to see this probably. If you haven't seen this before, you need to see it a couple times before it. Then, quiet you. Before it makes sense completely. So let's go to sportsinsights.com. And by the way, if this isn't interesting for you guys, there is a lesson to be learned from it in psychology, in how people think and how that reflects in real world results. Okay, so I'm going to go to this site, go to free odds here. And I'll try to zoom it in. I think there's a game that has reverse. Oh, shoot, it just started. Well, no, here it is. Here's one. All right. So this is Milwaukee and Oakland. All right. Actually, Texas, Seattle had it. Yes, that was the one. See, I was looking at this earlier. Okay, I'll show it to you in 2 games. Reverse line movement. Texas has 66% of the vote. Here, Oakland has 61%. So most people, okay, it's not as big as the one yesterday where it was 79%, but still, most people. And yet look at what's happened to the line. Going from minus 148, the line has come down to minus 114. Wow. That means even though more people are betting on Oakland, the sharp money is on Milwaukee. So we'll see how that turns out. Same thing has happened in the Texas game. More people were betting. The line opened at minus 165. See, there's the open. And the line went down to minus 135. Now, I know this game is actually in action, but that is what how it looked. Because this line adjusts in real time. That's a reverse line movement. More people betting on one team, but the line going in the opposite direction. So the professionals think Seattle's going to win. The professionals here think Milwaukee's going to win. The professionals means they're called sharps. That's where the big money is. And like I said, they know things that we average Joes, squares, like myself and others, that we don't know. So you want to follow the money. That's a wise strategy to use, especially when the astrology is not coming through. All right. Hopefully this is useful to you guys. Let me know if you have some comments below, and we'll talk again. Take care for now. Bye.